Well, tube. You're probably not gonna be able to read this. But today we got "The Ego Is Not the Real You" by David R. Hawkins. I'm not gonna have a whole lot to say about this book, but I still wanted to bring it up. David R. Doc Hawkins, medical doctor, Ph.D. I know he was born in 1927. He died in 2012. Um, and he was raised in Wisconsin. That's about as much of his background story as I was able to find within the amount of research I was willing to do. He didn't have like a Wikipedia page. Well, there is a David Hawkins that has a Wikipedia page, but he was part of the Manhattan Project. Don't think it's the same guy. Um, but basically, this guy is, even though he didn't really start writing his new agey spiritual books until he was like 65. 65. He was still a fairly prolific writer. He's got maybe a dozen books in a series. They're like a yellow and blue book. I have one of his books, but he had a bunch of them. And basically, what this is a um, basically just selected blurbs out of his book, just compiled. This is the description I found on the publisher's website. Um, Learn to let go of the illusion of the ego and discover the real you with this collection of inspiring quotes on the ego, mind, and spiritual enlightenment. Paperback book. Are you willing to let go of seeing yourself as the ego believes you to be? Are you willing to go further to know that the ego itself is an illusion? I scrolled down too much. The and the ego is not you. The ego is not the real you. Select teachings from Dr. David R. Hawkins. Extensive body of work will guide you in the process of realization, surrender, and transformation. When we let go of the old ways of thinking, our attachments, and false promises of the ego, we discover the truth that we are one with all. Reading's hard today. What can I say? This is why I'm doing a video and not reading a book like I should be. Um, Features classic passages including, it is not really necessary to subdue the ego, but merely to stop identifying with it. Every life experience, no matter how tragic, contains a hidden lesson. When we discover and acknowledge the hidden gift that is there, a healing takes place. Enlightenment is not a condition to be obtained, it is merely a certainty to be surrendered to, for the self is already one's reality. If it is the self that is attracting one to spiritual information. To be enlightened merely means that consciousness has realized its most inner innate quality as nonlinear subjectivity and its capacity of awareness. And finally, the only energy that has more power than the strength of the collective ego is that of spiritual truth. That's what they think is the important blurbs. I picked 5 blurbs that I thought was interesting, and the furnace is kicking on, so I apologize if it sounds like there's a jet engine next to me. So I picked 5 here. To surrender to God means to stop looking to the ego for solace and thrills and to discover the endless serene joy of peace. Because you always hear the surrender of God. You gotta surrender to Krishna. You gotta surrender to this. You gotta surrender to that. But they never tell you what surrender is, and really that doesn't necessarily tell you what surrender is either. It kind of tells you in like a new agey sort of way. If you're a dirty hippie, you know what he's talking about. If you're not, then you're just rolling your eyes and whatever. At all times, remain aware that the real you is not the ego. Refuse to identify with it. Now, I don't believe in the whole nonsense of like ego death, and I don't believe that you're going to fall asleep on a park bench and wake up enlightened. Sorry, certain beloved author that I shall not mention here. Um, Everyone's got ego. That certain Eckhart Tolle has an ego. If he didn't have an ego, he wouldn't be on Oprah. He wouldn't be charging money for his books and his talks and buying mansions in Vancouver and whatever. Um, uh, Ram Dass had an ego. He would tell you he had an ego. It was an ego he was always fighting with. You listen to him talk and the way he was around people. And he was funny and calm, and you could you thought he knew the answers, but he would tell you that he's just like everybody else. He's fighting his own inner battles and blah 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 blah. Like, I'm sorry, you have an ego and you have to stick with it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you that. No book, no book for $14.99. No $75 TED Talk wannabe is going to teach you how to be egoless, how to become enlightened, all that stuff. Sorry, you're not going to be the Buddha. Someone had to tell you. It might as well be me. I know you just thumbed down my video, and you're giving me death threats in the comment section. I know, but it's the truth. To Speaking of which, I will hit that thumbs up button if you like this sort of content. If you like me crushing and ruining your egoless dreams, because I have an ego. That thumbs up means something to me. The subscribe if you like this sort of thing, or if you don't like this sort of thing, I have lots of other content on the channel. I do a wide variety of content. If you want to purchase this book, I have an affiliate link down below to bookshop.org, or if you use it to buy this book or any book, I get a small commission. You get an awesome book at no extra cost to yourself. So just yeah. Where were we before I went off on that? To wash the mind from a detached position is educational and non-stressful, and it can be done with equanimity. I believe that is very true. I believe you can detach from your thoughts and your emotions, and it's hard. It's hard, and you're not going to be there 24/7. However, there are steps you can take that basically you can reprogram your mind to where stuff just doesn't bother you like it used to. It's something. It's like going to the gym though. If you spend 6 months working your way up to a half marathon, and then you stop going to the gym for 3 years, don't expect that you're going to be able to run that half marathon again. It's something that's continuous work. That's why I'm that's why I'm as messed up as I am, because I do the work for a little while, and I get bored, or I start feeling better. Now I'm like, I don't need this anymore, and then of course and then I have to start all over again. The essential nature of spiritual work is to stay focused on what arises from from instant to instant, and become aware of what experiencing and let me restart. I'm sorry. We don't edit here. I know. It's annoying for you to watch her. But we keep it real. I'm human. I am full of ego. I'm not egoless. I'm not enlightened. I make mistakes. It's okay. The essential nature of spiritual work is to stay focused on what arises from instant to instant, be here now, and become aware of what is experiencing and where it is being experienced. So, like if some random dude cuts you off in the traffic, you feel that rage just bubble up in you. At some point, if you put in the work, you're like, you still feel like the rage. I mean, it's there, but instead of dragging the person out of their car and beating them with an aluminum baseball bat, you're like, I am really angry right now. Why am I angry? Like I'm alive. He's alive. No one got hurt. Like 5 minutes from now, am I even going to remember that this jackhole cut me off? I mean, 5 minutes from now, there'll be some new jackhole that cuts me off, and I'll forget all about this jackhole. You know, The purpose of meditation is to transcend the mind and its mental activities and limited perceptions, thereby transcending duality and becoming increasingly aware of oneness. Which I believe in oneness. I don't see it. I'm like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not my. I believe in the notion of I'm the same as my dog that's on the bed licking himself right now. We are one. That was a bad example. We are one. Um, but I believe that's a thing. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know if I'll ever get to see it in this lifetime, but I do believe that's a thing. So I thought those quotes were interesting. My five quotes became like 7 or 8 quotes. So I had to reread a few of them a few times. So um, this book was okay overall. I basically wanted an overview of his works to see if he's worth diving into. I don't necessarily think he's not worth diving into. Um, I don't know if I'd get a lot out of it if I'd understand a lot of it. I don't. I don't think he's. Um, I the limited stuff that I know of him, the limited reading I've done is I don't think he's necessarily a phony or anything like that. As I think about some other people, I believe he thinks what he says, and I think there's some. I think he can back up what he says. What I'm trying to say because like I said, I'm not an expert on him or anything. I've read some things here and there, and he gets very technical. But it seems like at least from the stuff I've read, it seems like there's some science to some of this stuff, which is actually kind of refreshing because a lot of the new age stuff, it's all about feels and emotions and things like that aren't provable. I it's chilly. I'm chilly. But you watching this, I can't prove to you that it's chilly. Besides that, I'm a fat guy sitting here in a hoodie, so you could think, okay, well, he's not sweating profusely, so he must be comfortable at the minimum. What's to say? A lot of this new agey spiritual stuff's the same way. People, um, whether it be Michael Crichton reading people's auras or Eckhart Tolle taking a nap on a park bench and then waking up enlightened. You just have to either believe it or not believe it. You can't prove either way really. So I think that's about it for this one, peeps. I thought this was going to be like a 4-minute video. If you're still here, comment down below. I don't know, Michael Crichton bending spoons. There you go. That way, if anybody actually comments that, and if anybody actually reads the comments, they're like, what? Why are these people saying Michael Crichton bending spoons? That's dumb. That's it for this one, peeps. Cheers. Oh, let me know down below. Actually, you know what's even better? Let me know down below if you have an ego, or if you lost your ego somewhere. If you lost your ego, where'd you lose it? Is it under your bed? I don't know. Cheers.